Did you know that 82% of coaches and healers are living paycheck to paycheck, desperately hoping their next discovery call will convert into a paying client? And here's what's even more shocking. 91% of those same professionals already have the solution sitting right in their inbox. They're just not using it. Or they're using it but so poorly that their emails end up in the email graveyard of spam or the Google Promotions tab. In fact, did you know that 45% of emails sent end up in spam? That's a horrifying statistic, huh? You know, this hits close to home for me because some 14 years ago, I was that coach, brilliant at helping others, but struggling to keep my own business afloat. I had just lost my husband to cancer, had 2 young children to support, and was facing a mountain of debt. It was in that moment that I realized I simply had to turn things around or we'd lose our home. I was building an email list, but my emails were sporadic at best and completely missing in action at worst. Sound familiar? We've all been there. What's even worse is that many coaches are like one of my clients, we'll call her Josie. When she did send an email, it was only to promote her latest offer, a classic pitch fest. But here's what's really fascinating. The difference between coaches who are struggling to make $3,000 a month and those consistently hitting $10,000 plus isn't about fancy tactics or complicated strategies. It's actually much simpler than that. It's about mastering what I call the 3C formula for email marketing profit. And while we only have 10 minutes together, and I wish I could give you every detail of my entire system, I'm going to focus on these 3 essential pillars that will transform your business: connection, creativity, and courage. Hi, I'm Carrie Wallace, and this is the exact system that I've used to take my business from sporadic £2,000 a month to consistent £2,000 days using nothing but email marketing. So let me break down exactly how this works. First up, we've got connection. This isn't about building a massive list. It's about building the right list. One of my clients, Sarah, was struggling with a list of 5,000 subscribers, but 0 sales. Why? Because she was talking at her audience instead of with them. The reality is your audience is drowning in information, but what they're starving for is real connection. They want to feel seen, heard, and understood. So instead of just dumping information, focus on these 3 things in your next few emails and see the difference. Show a deep understanding of your audience's problems and the emotional impact that they have. Provide clear, specific answers, not just more information, and share relevant stories that actually matter to them. Next, let's talk about creativity. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Carrie, I'm not creative. Well, I didn't think I was particularly creative either until I realized something crucial, and this will make all the difference. Creativity stems from clarity. When you're crystal clear on your unique message, on how you're different from others, and on what transformation you provide, the creative ideas start flowing naturally. So stop trying to sound like everyone else in your industry and be more you. For Josie, gaining clarity on what makes her unique meant that she was able to write consistently, had a never-ending stream of ideas for what to write, and her emails create a clear pathway for her audience to move from being mildly curious to eagerly invested, knowing that she was the right person to help them. And most importantly, she started making sales and signing on new clients directly from her emails. When you are clear on the message that you want to share, the value that you have to offer, and what makes you different, you free yourself to be more creative in your marketing. So here's something that you can do right now. Write down your answer to this question. What problem do you solve for your audience, and how does it change your client's life? Third is courage. This is where most people get stuck. They're afraid to be themselves in their marketing and their emails. They try to sound professional instead of being real. Josie, and I have to admit, me as well, struggled with imposter syndrome. How many times have you held yourself back because you're worried it might not work out? Maybe you hold off promoting your next webinar for fear that no one will show up. These are common fears, and these self-imposed limitations stop you from enjoying the success you deserve. It takes courage to show up consistently, to share your authentic voice, to stand out from the crowd, and to make bold offers. And yet, this is where the magic happens. For me, it wasn't until the universe forced me to pause and step back when cancer hit just 4 years after I'd watched my husband die of the same dreadful disease. It wasn't until this point when I was forced to stop and look inwards and realize just how many barriers I'd put around myself that were blocking sustained success. So take a look inwards today and recognize what internal barriers you may have, especially around wealth and money. Once you've recognized what these barriers are, you need to release them in a way that they won't come back. Kind of think of it like gardening. Just like a weed in the garden will grow back if you only cut it off at the surface, so a limiting belief and label will reappear stronger unless you completely remove it from the roots. Just like a weed, you need to find the root cause of those beliefs and pluck them out, roots and all. And once you've released those shackles of debt and doubt, you're free to reclaim your true identity and step forward with courage, confidently sharing who you are. So one thing you can do right now is share a story in your next email that you've been afraid to tell, something that shows your humanity. When you combine all three of these pillars, connection, creativity, and courage, something incredible happens. Your emails stop being just another message in someone's inbox. They become a bridge to transformation, a pathway to connection, real connection, and yes, a reliable route to consistent $10,000 months. One final point to consider is that most coaches focus on the wrong metrics. They obsess over how big their email list is. But what really matters? Relationship. Because when you nail the relationship piece through consistent, creative, and courageous emails that forge a strong connection with your readers, the sales become natural. The conversions become much easier. And those $10,000 months, they become your new norm. But for any of that to happen, you have to get your emails opened, right? Even the best written email is useless if it sits unopened. And that's why I can't not share an incredible gift of 30 high-converting email subject line templates. These are the exact templates that I use to generate open rates of 50% and more, even from emails late on in a sequence. These templates give you the formula to apply and an explanation as to why they work, and are the exact templates that I use to drive sales directly from my emails. As you think about this resource and whether it's right for you, I want you to imagine where your life will be 1 year from now, 6 months from now, when you have crafted email subject lines that get your emails consistently open and connect with your readers in a unique way that clearly shares your message and shows how you are different from others. What will that do for your business and life? Thanks for listening.